So let it create, guys. It will take 1-2 minutes. Meanwhile, we'll check out the documentation. So in the documentation, we are going to see the login workflow. So first of all, you should know one thing, guys. These entire details we have seen in the login workflow. How the login works? Basically, this is the workflow that we need to understand. This is the workflow that we need to understand. So how it does work? How it does work? We will be talking about this in detail. So first we will discuss here, and after that we will be going ahead in the lab. So when the user, either it can be your root user or a standard user, both user, we are talking about all the users profile. As you have seen here, we are able to store the user details in the /etc/passwd. Entire user detail, either it can be root user or it can be standard user. For both user, we are able to store the detail of the user in the /etc/passwd. In their password, we are keeping into /etc/passwd. So either it is root user or it is a standard user. For both user, we are keeping the user detail and password there in the same two file. Now when we are talking about this login workflow, so almost the login workflow for both of the user, means standard user and root user, both will be the same. So how it does work? What all are these files, guys? The .bash rc, .bash history, .bash profile. What all are these files, and how it does execute, so that we used to able to log in into the Linux machine. So I'll do one thing. I'll show you through a different documentation. I guess, are you able to get this info, guys? This is screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So basically, see, the first thing is here, like what exactly, how the user is getting authenticated. How the user is getting authenticated. This is the first one. First is how user is getting authenticated. Means when a user logs into a Linux system, either user will log in as a GUI or user will log in as a SSH or console. Through any way, if any user is going to log in into the Linux system, so they need to authenticate the user detail through this file /etc/passwd. It contains the user account information, which we have seen, like user detail, username colon, user password colon, user id colon, user group id colon, description colon, users home directory colon, user shell. These entire things used to come here, right? So these comes under the this file, and the encrypted password will be stored into the shadow file. See, I am talking about the authentication, guys. Authentication, basically it is a method. It is a method. In this method, you will be able to understand how you are going to log in into the Linux. Once you are logging into the Linux, so what processes are happening, how a user will be authenticated, how user will say I am the genuine user. So there should be something. Authentication means what? Authentication means something to prove that you are the genuine user, something to prove that the original user or main user. So how it is going to prove? So it will prove once once the user detail and the password will get verified by these two file. Now who will verify? Who will verify. So there is a module called PAM. We used to call pluggable authentication modules that handles the authentication policies. It will check these both files if you keep the user details. If you enter the username and password, then PAM will check this file and this file whether the username and password is correct or not. Like that, this process will happen under the user authentication. Is it clear, guys? What is user authentication? Is it clear to everyone how it used to authenticate? There
Yes,
is
sir.
the small detail that easily we can remember. Right? In this document, I will also share with you all so that you all can understand as well. Okay, so we came to know how to authenticate, we came to know authentication is done. Now, how you are going to set up the user environment? If you need to set up the user environment after authentication, the system execute a series of shell initialization file. Some of file uh, it will execute to set up the user's working environment. Now there are two type of working environment you do have: login shell and non-login shell. Login shell means as we are login. When a user login via terminal or SSH, it starts as a login shell. Non-login shell means if user is using the desktop session, in there the user is opening a terminal, or inside one terminal another terminal is opening, new terminal within the terminal, that will be non-login shell. So it is telling us after authentication, the system will execute some initialization file, shell initialization file to set up the working environment. And these all are the shell, login shell and non-login shell. Right? So login shell, when user will log directly into the terminal using SSH as we are using, and non-login if you are using a desktop version, so you will be able to open terminal, inside terminal then you will be using. So how the process works for login shell? For the first one, login shell, so the system basically reads these file in order, one by one system will read this file. The first file system will read slash etc slash profile, slash etc slash profile file the system will read, and this will be having the global setting for all the user. Either user is root user or standard user. For all the user there will be a profile file, slash etc slash profile file. It will read, it will read, who will read? The who will read, if you go to login, then PAM programmable authentication module will authenticate, and after that once you go into the login, so this login shell, in the login shell this file will execute, this file will execute means this file will run, you can say this file will run, and in that file you will be having the entire setting of the users. And then in the dat bash profile, here is specific setting, specific user setting will be there, means if user A is there, user A is there, for user A one setting will be there, for user B another bash profile will be there, for user C another bash profile will be there. If this file is not present, if this file is not present, then it will try to read slash dot bash underscore login file or slash dot profile. These file will it will read to get the, to get the cell info, to get the user proper info, so that it can complete the process, right? And then it will run the dot bash rc for interactive shell setting. So you will once you will run the shell, once you will open the shell, this file will run, dot bash rc file will run, so that it will ask, see, if you are going to use the shell, if you are going to use the shell, so the shell should know, in the OS shell should know this shell is getting used by which user, which user, whether that user is having permission to use it or not. So these files basically will run to give you the shell, so that you will be able to use the shell. So bash rc will be a interactive shell setting which you will be able to get in future. to use. Let's say if you are running it now. For non-login, for non-login shell means if you are opening a new terminal inside an existing setup. So again, the bash rc will be executed and it will be setting up the aliases, functions and prompt. It may also source /etc/bash rc, right? So here you will be getting the shell details and shell to use. In the first, here you will be getting authenticated through these details, and here you will start getting the shell proper where you can work, and after that how you will set up the working directory. So after login, the user present working directory is set to their home directory by default. This is defined into the /etc passw as a home directory where we are keeping the username, user password, colon, user ID, colon, user group ID, colon, description, colon. Here only we are defining this home directory of the user, and then shell. So this shell we have seen it here earlier into the second option, and this present working directory will store here as a home directory of the user, and then we will be coming back into the command history. So command history, guys, the shell also maintain a command history into the bash history file that will store the past command. Whenever we are keeping the history command, we are getting the command from here itself. In the number of saved command is controlled by hist size. It means that if you are running clear command 10 time, so the number of time it will store into the bash rc file, and that will be controlled by the history size and history file size, how many number of time you will execute that file. And then the next one is your environment variable and shell customization. So if you need to set up the environment variable or set customization, environment variable means what? Let's say the host name of the user, or you can say the home directory of the user. You can also modify home directory if you want to change the home directory of any specific user, that also you can modify. And environment variable can be somewhat more, not only the host name, and this somewhat more it will be coming in that document. I'll show you. If I'll show you the environment variable here, environment variable, uh, ID. Okay, okay. So it will come, guys, once you will be learning the variable in detail. It will come that time. I'll explain the things to you once again. No need to worry. Like the host name, username, the variable generally which we are not able to modify, but we will be able to set up our path. Let's say if you want to set your path, if you want to set your language, like that kind of variable, host name, this you want to set up for permanent, so you can set up into the bash profile or bash.rc, that you will be getting into that environment. Even the aliases of command also you can set up into the bash rc file. Means, let's say when you are writing pwd, present working directory, and present working directory is equal to anything you can say double a. If you attach this into the bash rc file, so rather than keeping pwd, if you run the double a, so that will run as a pwd. So those kind of info also, aliases and function can also define into this bash rc file, right? This you will be, these all are little bit technical, guys. Once you will be keep learning, easily you will be able to understand. So basically, once all configuration loaded, the user is present with the shell prompt, allowing to interact with the system. So how the process works? The process start working from authentication, and then setting up the user environment by running this profile and bash rc files and everything, and then at the end you are able to set up the login completion. So if you go back to the machine now, let's log into the machine to verify it, and we will just go to the details page. We'll show it. Download the ppk file, copy the public IP address, we'll open putty, and here we'll give ec2 hyphen user at the rate public IP address along with the key pair. We'll add the key pair here. So our key pair we can browse here. The latest one is in bracket of 1. We'll open. We'll accept it. And then I'll change the font size. Allow selection of variable pitch font. Let's say if I'll keep this all the time, it will come or not. Okay. So let's clear up the screen now, and here we see. So this is EC2 user, guys. This is EC2 user. This is EC2 user. As per this document, as we can see, as you can see here, this file load slash etc slash profile, which is global setting for all user. First of all, system will read this file. Who will read this file? System will read this file, or system will execute this file. So if you need to see that file, we can just change first of all this user to root user, and then you will be going to that file. You can just write here cat space slash etc slash profile. This will show the info. So this is the program, this is the code, guys. This code will run if hist control is equal to ignore space, export this, and else run this. Export path user log name, mail host name, his size, his control. What exactly these thing? By default we want to unmask to get the set. So this is the program, guys. This is the code. Basically I am not bringing you into the detail of it, this code. So once you will start once you will start the operating system and if you go to access the shell, at the same time this profile file will run. As you can see, there are few if else statement is there where it will try to get some variable and execute, and if it is matching, it will just give you the access. Right. Let's exit from here. Now it is telling us, as per this document again, now it is telling us for a specific user setting, we do have another file, dot dash profile. If you go to this user now, if you do ls, you cannot get the that file, because that used to be hidden file in the Linux. If you need to access hidden file needs to be accessed, then you will be using a command called ls space hyphen l to list with the permission and a for hidden file, ls space hyphen la, or you can use ls space hyphen al. Both are the same. You can use any command to list the you can use any command to list out the hidden file. ls space hyphen l. You can, if you want to use l, it will give you the list. If you don't want to use l, it directly only you want to get the files and all, you can use hyphen a. And the same thing, if you want to get in a list, ls space hyphen la, it will give you in the list. Right. So it is telling us a bash profile file will run once you need to get the shell access. So if you go to the cat and if you want to check the dot bash underscore profile file, you can see again the same code will come. Bash profile, get the aliases and functions. If this is then this is what the code you will be getting. For user specific environment in startup, this is the path. By this the user is getting the the shell slash home slash bin. Generally it used to be the shell for almost all the users, where the user will be typing the command. So this is coming for the user, specific user. This is right now we are using EC2 user. So this file is coming. If you go back to root user also, if you go to the root user also, you will be getting here again ls space hyphen a. Here also you will be getting the bash dot bash profile. So if you need to check this file also, dot bash underscore profile file. So here again almost same text we are getting. See, almost same text we are getting here. It is telling get the aliases and functions by this code. And the path is again home slash bin. So this is what the path we are getting, and it will export the path for us. So this is the second file from this document which will run. And if these two file will not present, then it will try to run this bash login or directly profile. So if you need to check those also, if you need to check those also, again it is telling us profile file. So you can see right now the bash profile is available, but profile is not available directly. Profile is not available directly. So what is last? Bash login. So the last one is bash login. So here you can see bash logout is there, bash login is not there. If you go to exit from here, and if you clear up the screen, and if you do ls space hyphen l a, and here you can see again bash login is not there, because here which file will run? That bash profile will run. Because in different linux distribution, different stuff will come, file name may be changed, login and some of there you will be getting profile separate. Here you are getting bash profile. So these file will execute to give you the environment where you can type the code, where you can type the command, not code, command, right? I hope it is clear to everybody. Is it clear to everybody, guys?
Yes, sir.
And once you get the shell, you will get the what do we say, this one, this is your working directory. We have discussed on already on it. And variables, variables command history we have seen, and command history will also store into the bash rc file only, and this bash history. So you will be able to get that detail also, bash history, once you'll be running a command multiple time. Or if you need to modify any, let's say if you see that bus rc file, so here only you can just write one more line, this command is equal to this command. So if you keep that, that will come. So that you will be learning in future once we will be doing the aliases of the command, right? If you learn everything now, it will create a confusion. And you can set up the variable also, guys. You can set up the variable as your path, as your language, as your date, as your calendar. These variables, if you need to modify, you can also modify. Where you need to modify, you need to modify into the bash rc file, or etc environment file, or bash profile. Here in these files you need to modify it, and this is how the login part will get completed. So if I need to share this file to you all, file, and need to share with you all, so I'll just try to share with you all by saying linux login process, login process. And that I can save on this PC, and desktop is fine for now. Save. Okay. I'll just share it in the WhatsApp group after few minutes so that you will be having clarity how what process happen one by one once we are going to log in into the Linux. Now let's come back to the original documents. So the original document says after login it is showing us you have to give username and password. You can check the present working directory, host name and all. Man command we have used. Who am I already we have used. And after that some of useful command, if you see who am I already we have used. And id command, id is all about the which user you are using, that id. Let's say ec2 user id is this one 1000. If you change it to root user, and if you check the id of root user, so if you just write id here it will say 00, the same id which we have searched into the same id which we have searched into the etc file. So id is here, and host name we have checked it out, and then uptime we have checked it out, how many users are logging in, from how much time the users are logging. Date command we have checked it already. Calendar command we have checked it already. Clear command checked it. Echo command we have checked it already. Echo, see echo means if you need to send some text, let's say if I'll clear up the screen and if I do ls, there is no file. For touch command we can create any file by saying let's say file1, and if you need to send the text you can use echo command, and you can just write the text here, hello, how are you, something like that. And if you want to send this text into a file called file1, then you can just append it into file1 and you can send it now. Once you will send in the file, you can use cat command to verify what is there into the file1. So we have written echo how are you. And generally echo you are using to print something. Let's say echo, if you write date here, so it will print the date. Or if you write here echo, and if you write something hello, and if you run it, it will just print here. And by using echo also we can append into a file. And variable also we can run by keeping up echo. So let's say if you keep a variable here saying date dollar, something like that, a date comes. No, it is not printing. So date will be in which format? Again not. So the last you can use the back tick. Keep the date back tick again. Enter. It will print the this date, right? This is the environment variable. Let's say if you need to print current calendar, you can again keep a back tick in cal in back tick, right? So it is giving us the calendar like that. There are so many things that you will be learning slowly. For example, you are defining a name also. Let's say a name is equal to, let's say, um, Sai. Name is equal to Sai. So if you print name backtick, name backtick, so it will give Sai, right? With the variable we need to keep echo and dollar. No, it is not finding out Sai. Bash Sai, but it is showing Sai here. Bash Sai, command not found, but it is showing Sai here. That we will be doing into the variable part, guys, in detail. So moving further in the documentation, we will be able to get the next command called history we have done already. In touch command we have used already to create the blank file. Cat command we have used to see the content of the file. Now we'll move to the additional command. So under the additional command We do have standard input and standard output command. Standard input and standard output. So what is standard input? That in short we used to call stdin. stdin, guys. When we talk about standard input or output, guys, uh, so you must have to remember one thing. You must have to remember one thing when we are talking about standard input or output. So input means from the system you want to take something, that is input. And output means, sorry, it got, input is normally received means from any file. If you want to take something, it is input. If you want to send something into the file, it is output. That's so simple. That's so simple. That's so simple, guys. If you want to receive something from a file, it is input. Taking some text from a file, it is input. And sending some text into the file is output. So when I'm keeping echo and sending up something into the file, that is output, standard output, right? So this is what it is telling. Standard input is the device through which input is normally received. For example, a keyboard or a scanner. So you will be taking the input from the scanner. And standard input will be 0. Standard input will be 0. So 0 is the value that is used for standard input, and 1 will be for standard output. And if any other value will be 2, 3, like that, it will be error. It will be error. It will be error. So this sign, greater than sign, is sorry, less than sign, redirect the content of my first script to the standard. So let's say cat 0 my first script. It means that it tells cat to take input information from first script. So cat will take input from this file. So let's suppose this is a file. So by using cat, this 0 shows we are going to take the input. Like the same here in output, you can say whatever the command we are running. If you keep one and append it to a folder, this entire output will store into the folder.txt. That is output. These both I'll show you in the lab one by one so that you can easily understand. So let's see. First of all, input and input output both will see. Let's suppose there is one file, right? You can create multiple file by keeping touch command. File 2, file 2, file 3, file 4, file 5, like that we have created multiple file. If you do ls, these all are the files, right? These all are the files. If you do ls space hyphen l, the list of file we will get, list of file. So if we need to create a file, if we need to create a file where all this entire file info or all this text should be there, all these text should be there. So I'm talking about standard output. So what will I do? I'll write ls space hyphen l. By using this command, this text is coming. You see these 5 lines are coming. Now I'll write ls space hyphen l, and after that what it is saying, you can use standard output. You can use standard output. So in standard output we are using 1, and then you can give any text here, right? So you can go back here and you can just keep here 1, and then this you will be taking as a standard output as a file list. Let's say file list dot txt. So these 5 lines will store into the file list dot txt. So if you clear up the screen and if you do ls, this is the file list dot txt. If you do cat, you will be able to get the file list.txt, and these all are the info which we have stored there, including this also. First, what happened? So guys, if I'll ask you one thing, I do have a question. When I have executed ls space hyphen l and then space 1, taking output into a file call, let's say output file output, file dot txt. So which process is happening first? ls space hyphen 1 is happening first, or it is creating the file call name output file first and after that it is listing us? Anybody?
ls hyphen l is
First,
happening first.
If ls space hyphen l, see, you remember this command. I'll just remove it. I'll just write ls space hyphen l now. Sorry, ls space hyphen l now. How many files are coming? How many files are coming?
6.
6 file is coming. Now let's run the same command, ls space hyphen l, and then output of it we are going to store into output dot txt file. Okay, and now if you ls, the output dot txt is there. Now if you verify by using cat command output dot txt, how many lines you are getting now? You are getting one extra line. It
7.
means that first of all it is creating a file, and after that it is executing ls space hyphen l. That's why we are getting one extra file here. 1 2 3 4 5 6. The output is also, it is also listing the output file into the same. Means first of all it is creating output.txt, and after that it is running the ls space hyphen l and getting the text and sending it to the output.txt. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Output
Yes,
is
sir.
clear. And taking input is also easy. Taking input is also easy. So you can just write cat and 0. Now what we are taking? We are taking the input. So for taking the input, this is the syntax that has been given for taking the input. As you can see, cat this 0 and the file name. So we can just keep the file name as a output dot txt. So what it will give? It will just print the same thing which we have stored into the output file. So this is how we can take the input. Taking input means we are just taking out whatever there into the output text, output file. What is there in output file? We can just keep cat space 0. It will show you are taking the input from this file, right? Or you can understand like this. Let's say if we do have a file call, let's say we have created touch and we have given a file name as a zar is the file name, and you want to send some text into the jar. Let's say you want to send here something called hello you you zar, something this text you want to send into the zar file, right? And now if you check the through the cat, jar is there. In that we do have user, but you, if you need to take the input, you can just take cat in 0, and then you can just keep jar here. Again it will show you the same, means what is there into the jar that you are taking here as a input. And this is something called output. This line is output, this line is input. If you
Input.
can add one here, right? So this is standard input and output that you can use. And then there is error also. There is error, standard error. And when standard error is when a process can write error message, right? Let's say if you find something, it will show it is error. So standard error is used to print the error message on the output screen. So 2 is the value that is used for standard error. For example, consider the command find spaceless hyphen name star print this two from this file dev./null. So you can discard any error that find command generate to keep your CLI tidy. So overall, This also I'll tell you how to use standard error and how to use standard input output all together once you will be somewhat more familiar with the few commands. Find and all the commands will be coming in future. Next command is there is a bash tab completion, guys. Let's say if I do ls, this file list or output is something big here, for example. So if I'll write cat space only o, if I'll write only o, from o output is starting o, and after that if I'll press tab it will complete the text. So we can say tab completion. So tab will complete this file name, and will it enter, it will show the output. So sometime you can use tab to complete the command also. This is what it is saying into this file. Next, it is telling us history and tab completion that we have done, and this is the end of this documents. Whatever it has been given, we have covered so far.